Everyone grows up being told to chase their passion, to go after the dream job, the one that makes you jump out of bed every morning with excitement. Sounds great on paper, right? But here's the ugly truth: most so-called dream jobs don't actually pay the bills. They're ridiculously competitive, and they can leave you broke, stressed, and exhausted. Meanwhile, the people sitting quietly in jobs that nobody ever talks about, the ones considered boring or unglamorous, are often the ones stacking real money, living stress-free, and laughing when the bills come due. It's not because they sold out. It's because they figured out something most people refuse to admit: boring pays. See, dream jobs are romanticized. Everybody wants to be a YouTuber, a musician, a video game designer, a startup founder, or a social media influencer. They picture private jets, luxury lifestyles, and endless freedom. But here's the reality: for every one person who makes it big, there are millions grinding behind the scenes for little to no reward. The competition is brutal, the opportunities are scarce, and the supply of people who want those jobs is endless. When you chase a dream job, you're basically signing up to run a marathon where the finish line keeps moving further away. And the worst part: even if you land one, it often doesn't look the way you thought. The glamour fades fast when you realize that passion can turn into pressure, and the freedom you thought you'd have gets buried under deadlines, politics, and stress. Now, compare that to boring jobs. The ones no one brags about at family gatherings. The ones where people ask, so what do you actually do all day? Data entry, bookkeeping, compliance, insurance claims processing, technical writing. The list goes on. They sound dull. They don't make for exciting TikToks or viral Instagram reels, but they're in demand, they're reliable, and most importantly, they pay. While someone chasing a dream job is fighting against 1,000 other people for one spot, boring jobs are always hiring. Companies can't function without these roles, and that's where the opportunity is hiding. The ugly truth is that boring jobs are often less stressful too. Nobody expects you to change the world in a day. You clock in, do your work, clock out, and enjoy your life. 8. That's the part most people forget. When chasing their dream job, they imagine loving the work so much that it won't feel like work. But even passion feels like work when you have to do it every day for a paycheck. And the stress of depending on your dream for survival can actually make you resent it. On the other hand, if you take a so-called boring job that pays well, you can use that income to fuel your real passions without the pressure of turning them into your only source of survival. That's freedom. There's also the financial angle nobody talks about. Dream jobs often lure you in with status, not money. People will work for low pay because they love the idea of what they're doing. Employers know this and exploit it. That's why creative industries and cool jobs are filled with underpaid talent. But boring jobs, they don't rely on passion to hook you. They have to pay you well. Otherwise, nobody would want them. That's why those jobs come with stability, benefits, and salaries that look a lot better than what many so-called dreamers are scraping by with. The ugly truth boils down to this: you don't have to love your job. You just have to love what your job does for your life. A boring job can buy you freedom, time, and peace of mind. It can fund your hobbies, your side hustles, your vacations, and the things you actually care about. Dream jobs might look good in theory, but boring jobs quietly pay for the lifestyle people are chasing. At the end of the day, the choice is simple. You can chase the spotlight and risk burning out for pennies, or you can embrace the boring path, stack your money, and live life on your terms. People love chasing things that are rare. It's built into us. We think that if something is hard to get, it must be valuable. That's why people dream about working in glamorous industries, landing jobs that have thousands of applicants for one position, or squeezing into companies that make it clear they only hire the best of the best. It feels like a badge of honor to say you made it through the gate. But here's the reality nobody wants to admit hard. To get jobs might give you status, but they rarely give you freedom. They drain you with competition, they keep you replaceable, and they make sure you're always chasing rather than living. On the other hand, always hiring jobs, those unglamorous, in-demand positions people overlook, quietly beat them all. They give you leverage, financial security, and an escape route most people never realize is sitting right in front of them. Think about this. When a job is hard to get, who actually benefits? It's not you. 8. It's the company. They know there's a long line of desperate applicants waiting outside. So if you don't like the pay, the hours, or the conditions, they can replace you in a heartbeat. That prestige and exclusivity isn't designed to protect you. It's designed to protect them. It keeps demand sky high while keeping your bargaining power low. You end up working harder for less because you're too scared to lose a job that everyone else wants. The illusion of rarity traps you. Now flip it. An always hiring job might not sound attractive at first. It doesn't come with fancy perks or a shiny title. People don't brag about it at reunions. But here's the thing. Always hiring means always in demand. Companies can't function without those roles. The 48, that's why the positions stay open. They aren't glamorous, but they are essential. And that's where the hidden advantage lies. The 48, if you're in an industry where companies are constantly looking for workers, you have leverage. You're not chained to one employer. You can walk away, switch jobs, negotiate higher pay, or find another opportunity without living in fear. The abundance works for you, not against you. The other piece people miss is security. Hard to get jobs might feel stable, but they're not. The higher the prestige, the higher the pressure. The moment budgets get tight, those companies start trimming roles, cutting hours, or replacing people with cheaper talent who are desperate for that dream job title. But always hiring jobs. They don't go away. In fact, they often grow when the economy struggles because they're tied to basic, ongoing needs. They survive recessions, layoffs, and even global crises. While others are panicking about losing their fancy title, the person in a boring, always hiring job is still getting a paycheck every 2 weeks without skipping a beat. There's also freedom in not being stuck. People in hard to get jobs tend to cling to them even if they're miserable because the thought of finding something new is terrifying. They've invested so much energy into getting in that they can't imagine starting over. Meanwhile, if you're in an always hiring field, you're never stuck. Hate your boss, switch companies, want better pay, apply somewhere else tomorrow, need flexibility. You've got options. That kind of mobility gives you peace of mind, and peace of mind is worth more than prestige. Here's the ugly truth. People chase status, not results. 8. They want to say they're working in entertainment, tech startups, fashion, or some glamorous field. But while they're struggling to pay rent and fighting burnout, the people who picked stability over status are living quietly, stacking money and enjoying their lives. Always hiring jobs might not stroke your ego, but they protect your future. They might not impress your friends, but they'll give you options when those friends are stressed and broke. And in the long run, freedom, security, and leverage will beat prestige every single time. When people think of remote work, their minds jump straight to glamorous roles like social media influencers, digital marketers, or software developers building the next big app. Those sound exciting, but the truth is they're also crowded, highly competitive, and often unstable. 8. What most people don't realize is that some of the most boring sounding jobs are not only remote, friendly, but also pay incredibly well in 2025. These aren't the jobs people brag about on LinkedIn, but they're the ones quietly keeping households stable and bank accounts full. And the best part, they're always in demand because businesses can't function without them. Take bookkeeping, for example. It's not flashy. Nobody grows up dreaming of reconciling spreadsheets, but every single business needs someone to track income, expenses, and cash flow. Thanks to cloud-based accounting software, this role is now almost entirely remote, and it pays solid money while offering long-term stability. Another job in the same category is data entry and data management. It's repetitive, simple, and yes, boring. But companies drown in data and they need people to organize it. Because accuracy matters, they're willing to pay well for people who can handle it reliably. Then you've got compliance specialists. Nothing exciting about checking regulations, making sure a company follows the rules, or filling out reports. But in 2025, with governments tightening policies around privacy, finance, and global trade, compliance has become one of the most sought after skills. Remote compliance officers are being paid more than ever to keep companies out of legal trouble. Closely related are insurance claims processors. It's not thrilling work, but it pays high salaries because the insurance industry is massive and thrives on efficiency. As long as people are filing claims, companies will keep hiring remote staff to process them. Technical writing is another role people underestimate. It's not creative writing or storytelling. It's manuals, guides, process documentation, and instructional material. Most people find it dry, but businesses, especially in tech and healthcare, can't function without clear documentation. Good technical writers get paid extremely well to make complicated things simple, and almost all of it can be done remotely. Alongside that, legal assistants and paralegals are increasingly moving online. Law firms discovered they don't need someone in the office every day to review contracts, organize case files, and prepare documents. What sounds tedious to most people is actually a stable, lucrative remote career. And then there's customer success management. Not customer service, which is usually lower paying, but customer success, where you're paid to build relationships with clients, ensure they're happy, and prevent churn. It's repetitive, involves lots of calls and emails, and doesn't feel particularly exciting, but it's one of the fastest growing remote fields in 2025. 2. The 48. With salaries that surprise most people. What ties all these jobs together is that they're not glamorous. They're not the kind of work you'll see trending on TikTok. But they pay, they're secure, and they're almost always hiring. The people chasing flashy dream roles often end up broke, while the people who quietly step into these boring jobs are paying off debts, stacking investments, and building freedom. In the end, boring often wins, because boring is stable, boring is scalable, and boring lets you live life on your own terms. Most people spend their lives running from boring. They want excitement, passion, and the thrill of doing something that feels meaningful every day. That sounds nice, but it's also why so many end up broke, stressed, and stuck. The ugly truth is boring work is often the golden ticket to freedom. The jobs nobody brags about, the routines people complain about, and the habits that feel repetitive are the exact things that quietly build wealth, stability, and independence. Boring might not impress anyone on social media, but boring pays the bills, buys back your time, and opens the door to living life on your own terms. Think about money for a second. The average person wants to double it overnight with risky investments, flashy businesses, or quick wins. They chase crypto booms, gamble on stocks, or try to strike it rich with the next big idea. Meanwhile, the person who simply sticks to a boring system, investing consistently, living below their means, saving automatically, ends up wealthy in the long run. Nothing exciting about putting the same amount into an index fund every month. But compound growth doesn't care if it's boring. It works. The flashy person ends up chasing losses while the boring investor retires with freedom. The same thing applies to careers. A dream job sounds amazing, but more often than not, it's a trap. People sacrifice pay for prestige, fight for limited spots, and work insane hours just to hold on to something that looks impressive. Compare that to someone who takes a so-called boring role like bookkeeping, compliance, insurance processing, or technical writing. Nobody claps when you say that's your job, but those roles pay well, are in demand, and don't drain every ounce of your energy. That means you can use your income to fund the life you want outside of work. The dream job person spends their life working. The boring job person uses their work to buy freedom. Habits are the same way. Everyone wants a secret hack, some magic formula to success. But the truth is, boring wins here too. Waking up at the same time, showing up consistently, sticking to a workout routine, reading daily, writing down goals, none of it feels thrilling in the moment. But it's those boring habits that build discipline, sharpen your mind, and compound into massive results over years. The people chasing constant excitement never stick with anything long enough to see the payoff. The boring, steady person quietly gets ahead. Even business works this way. The companies that make fortunes aren't always the flashy startups changing the world. They're often the ones doing unsexy things: waste management, logistics, insurance, manufacturing parts, not exciting dinner conversation. 8. But these boring industries print money because they solve problems people can't live without. Boring businesses rarely go out of style. They may not be cool, but they're essential, and essential equals profit. The key is reframing what boring really means. Boring doesn't mean worthless. Boring means predictable. It means stable. It means repeatable. And when something is predictable and repeatable, it becomes scalable. That's the foundation of freedom. A boring job funds your passions. A boring routine keeps you healthy. A boring investment strategy builds wealth. You don't need constant excitement in your work if your life outside of it is full of choices, flexibility, and peace of mind. Boring is the engine. Freedom is the destination. Most people get it backward. They chase excitement in work and end up with boredom in life because they can't afford to do anything. 8. The smart ones accept a little boredom in their work so they can build a life filled with excitement, adventure, and freedom. That's how boring becomes the secret weapon.